Holy crap, Sarge, it's a shirtless teenage boy. Don't make this weirder than it has to be, Simmons. But sir, the moral and ethical dilemmas of... I'm dead.
Spriggan is Netflix's new anime based on a 1989 shonen manga and a 1999 movie. That's the poster? He looks like a rat. Stella, get that out of here. Give me a different one. Much better. The basic premise of Spriggan is like any other good shonen manga. Another goddamn high school boy named Yu One works for a secret organization known as Arkham that has brought upon itself a mission to find, seal, and destroy super ancient artifacts from long-lost technologically superior civilizations before they are misused to cause global catastrophe. A terraforming Noah's Ark, a giant flame dragon in the heart of Mount Fuji, a skull that shoots lasers. Some are better than others. Spriggan consists of 6 40-minute-long episodes filled with globe-trotting adventure, some pretty decent animation and character concepts, and ultimately, a lackluster show. Here's why. Spriggan is best viewed as an overproduced Saturday morning cartoon, like The Secret Saturdays or Generator Rex, but a little less bonkers and not as well written. We follow you, a high school boy with no parents. Are you playing bingo, Stella? Yeah. Alright. As he uses his glowing red eyes, super muscle suit, and special training from several masters of martial arts as he beats mercenaries, governments, and everyone's favorite fascists. And plenty more on his quest from Arkham. Each episode is generally its own contained story, with little crossover between a recurring character or two, namely Yu's balding boss and treasure hunter Yoshino, who pulls an Uzi out of her backpack and whose age is plausibly deniable. My least favorite age. Taking Spriggan just from this lens of a relatively contained, simple story, it's fun. The animation is more competent than your average production, and at times quite beautiful, like Jean, another Spriggan known as Arkham's elite warriors, and a werewolf, and an all-around beautiful man. And the fight scenes are pretty cool too. I will say though, if you're a 2D purist, those 3D models will definitely grind your gears a bit. They aren't bad by any means, but they're just noticeable enough that you'll occasionally get that X-arm effect where a clearly 2D character stands next to a 3D model, and it just feels a little weird, like the feeling I get when I look at John. Stella, I didn't add this into the script. The animation is not only very pretty at times, but the backgrounds are fun to look at. Jungles or military bases or the inside of an ancient observatory. And while it's no Demon Slayer, more on that in a future video, it does its job and it does it well. Until... Spriggan, while a fun, dumb watch that does actually remind me of Indiana Jones and 007 at some point, especially episode 5, you'll know what I mean when you see it, does suffer from coolness before plotness. The chronic condition where a show is so caught up in the cool factor of what it can show you, it forgets why it should show you it. Let's start with the basics. Yu. Yes, Yu is basic, and there really isn't any argument there. He is the heart of gold protagonist schoolboy with no parents, and sadly, no real backstory as of this moment. The ending of episode 1 teased us with a nice little touching shot of a young Yu with a childhood friend, and the final episode delivers a bloated metaphor from a former mentor. But why Yu has red eyes at times, why his parents were killed, and why Arkan decided to rely on child soldiers for their work, which seems to be a disturbingly common trope in anime. Oh, there's your bingo card again, Stella. Nice one. And why nearly every single villain in the show not only knows his name, but generally knows where he is at all times. The only significant fact we learn about Yu is that he's very committed to protecting the world and his friends, and he doesn't like to kill people. Though he punches a guy into a volcano and smashes a man's face clean off by slamming him into a rock, so take that with a grain of salt. Yu is, as I said before, basic. A vessel for the story. What story, you may ask? Well, I don't know. The story isn't really a story, just each episode's plot beats and nothing really overarching beyond the mention of a few key players, like the arms company rivaling Arkham for control. And each episode's individual story is fine, there's nothing wrong with that, Mandalorian does it great. But it mainly ends with the villain dying, outside of Yu's control of course, by wonderful coincidence, and no real lessons learned, like, at all. From episode 1 to 6, Yu gains a knife, a grappling hook, and a dead father figure. Ah, there you go, still another one. His school life is virtually non-existent, and the only constant recurring characters are Arkham Redshirts that some sadistic nutjob keeps sending to places they clearly are not equipped to handle. It's like a frickin' SCP Foundation out here with the number of casualty caused turnovers they have. It's so bad they introduced some dude that you was supposed to know from way back whose first line was that he couldn't wait to get home to his wife or maybe girlfriend or newlywed, and 3 minutes later he's killed by a guy named Little Boy and his partner Fat Man. 2 American operatives in what was supposed to be an emotional moment and instead was objectively funny, but not in the way I think it was supposed to be. Now, class, let's take a look at some examples from Spriggan's first 6 episodes and pick out some of the oddities we find. Spoilers, of course. Episode 1. You and Arkham's lax security constantly puts Yu's childhood friend in a state of immense danger. Also, she's the only one who can decipher ancient texts, and she also can't really read them. Also, the Americans attacked and killed several Arkham members in their own headquarters. Also, the Americans actually aren't the main villains. It's this Russian guy, and this Japanese guy. And this Japanese guy's sword immediately shatters when it hits a special ancient plate that is unaffected by time and space. And Yu punches him into lava. Episode 2. Yu and Arkham's lax security leads to the death of tons of Arkham researchers, and Yu no longer wants to kill, as he is now naive. Oh, but don't worry, John will kill for him. Also, the US gave a child the power of a god complex, and the keys to a terraforming weapon made for gods. He immediately goes rogue, because of course. This random woman is also almost killed. And both villains and good guys rant about the nature of humanity. The villain has a mental breakdown for Yu calling him out, and then decides to kill himself. This is a child. Episode 3. Spooky wood spirits an annoying treasure hunter and mercenary group. Also, Yu can do psychic punches now, and the treasure hunter can channel the dead to possess themselves. Don't ask how, you're not going to get an answer. Episode 4. Yu keeps his promise to his classmate, who's leaving, who you've literally never heard or seen before, by killing a bunch of British soldiers following orders, then spends the next half hour killing a giant CGI bug thing with this lady. Episode 5. Raiders of the Lost Ark meets Kingdom of the Crystal Skull meets anime knockoff and some questionable shippers, and the power of chi. Episode 6. Naval battle, treasure girl, old mentor who tries to kill Yu, a giant island and a pyramid they didn't have the budget to animate properly. You can tell by my synopsis at this point, I stopped paying attention as much. Because, while this isn't bad by any means, the lack of the through-line plot means I just kind of gave up caring about the show halfway through. It's clear the writers just wanted to get from beat to beat to show off the cool stuff, and you know what? No fault to them for that. But if the show's going to have any staying power, they need to give us something. There's this setup for season 2 and a sort of a half promise of a bigger arcing villain, but I can't really imagine Spriggan, this rat fella, to have any particularly compelling messages. Sorry, that's a little mean. He's cooler looking in the anime. When the original movie had less than a 6 on IMDb. So, should you watch Spriggan? What's my verdict? Well, it's a conundrum, because I actually did enjoy the Saturday morning cartoon aspect of Spriggan, and the world building and some of the super ancient technology concepts are actually pretty cool. But the problem is that it doesn't really feel like an archaeology Indiana Jones type show overall, where we find pieces of what we feel is like some sort of ancient civilization that somehow fits into a connected whole of some sort of long con world building and story beats. Instead, it feels like they had a lot of cool ideas and wanted to put them to use. Continuity and connectiveness be damned. We have chi, we have guns, we have mech suits and unexplained psychic powers, and we have multiple different ancient pieces that only partially bear resemblance to the original mythos, and if Yu was strong enough of a character to carry the show on his back, that could work, but he's not. Throw him into any other shonen role and he becomes the exact same bland slate he walked in on. And in a show like this, that's not necessarily going to keep people watching. I sure won't. I'll give Spriggan a high to mid 6 out of 10. It's, like I said before, by no means bad, and the animation can be badass at times, but I think unless you're really loving that art style, there are a ton of shows that are more engaging and all around more awesome. And if you really want to watch a bunch of shonen fighting going absolutely crazy, well, thanks for watching, everyone. This was another one of those unnecessarily harsh videos that I had a lot of fun recording. If you have any pushback on my review, please let me know. I understand a lot of people actually did really like this show. Is it possible that with a good writing team, this could be really, really awesome? Maybe, but even then, the baseline power structure of the show, where the power system is like a bunch of different abilities and different ancient technology that they could literally just pull out of their asses at any point in time, makes it hard for me to really be invested in the strength and growth of Yu, because there's no metric for how good he is and what exactly his powers are. But again, this does have that nice sort of I can just watch an episode and move on type of Saturday morning cartoon feel, which I do appreciate. It would be nice if more shows had something like that. But anyway, regardless if you liked or didn't like the show, if you cared about or watched the rest of my review, I really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind dropping maybe a subscribe, if that's too much commitment for you, you can always unsubscribe later, but you could also just like or maybe comment if you want to discuss something or you have a different opinion, which I might suspect. And beyond that, thank you so much for stopping by. I am Locklan, Star Eyes, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.